Hey, what up? This is Louis Nakal, software engineer from Hawaii. Today I want to share 5 things I learned from my first game jam. Last year, I took part in the 2020 Game Off, the one hosted by GitHub, and I picked this one just because it was a month long, and I just, I'm a parent, I have a full-time job, I don't have a lot of time to really game in, and I just went for it. Technically, I probably spent a good week on it, like several hours a day, because, I saw the game jam theme, and then I let the idea run through my head, and I already kind of started a top-down shooter, and then I basically kind of molded my idea into Moonshot to match this theme as much as possible. I just made it have to do with space, and that's as far as I could get it. The first thing I've learned was just kind of wanted to share what I've kind of got from the YouTubers that I watch. It's Vimlark, Brandon James Greer, and Maziz. They are great game developers that I enjoy watching, and here's what I learned about them. I think at least 2 of them said this when it's starting a new game, was to have a very limited color palette. So I picked this one with 8 colors, and it worked out very well just because I'm not an artist. I don't know anything about colors, so I used that slight low spec. I used 8 colors, and a really good example of why it's so great to have a very limited color palette is, for example, I needed an outline to kind of outline my character. I wanted to use a dark color, but the problem is the dark color I was using, the darkest color was the background, which was the space background, this color right here you see in the background. So I had to pick the second darkest color, which is kind of like this darkish red color, and just pick that, and I just didn't have to think much about it. That really helped speed up the process and kind of get things that you wanted to get going. Use simple shapes. So again, squares, circles, triangles, whatever you can get. I'm pretty sure you're gonna start off with a lot of squares. I used that kind of shapes to start off the shape of my characters, and I kind of just went with continued down lower into the details after that. Recommended by these YouTubers, use low resolution. I went with 32 by 32. Another one I saw Vimlark use was the Beatbox. I think that's an awesome music making software. It's web-based, super easy to use. I just picked it up and just went with it. It was just really easy. I mean, I didn't make the most amazing music with it. I just kind of went with a pattern. The idea is to I think for me, it was just like kind of let the notes go up and then go down and up and down, or like this. Just kind of make a pattern there visually on the app, and you'll kind of make something that resembles music. And also, doing a game jam like this one really sets that deadline. It gets you to produce a game. There was a lot of things I wanted to do on top of the game that I built, except I had no time to do it. And so I recommend just do a game jam, get what you can do done within that time limit, wrap it up, and deploy it, get it out there, let people see it, get some feedback. And I think that was great advice as well. So another thing that I learned about this game jam is, hey, I can make a game. Like, I made a couple games, small games that I made before, but I really wanted to get into like collision detection. It was a little more advanced type of game for me based on what I'd made previously. It was kind of like a challenge to do the game jam. I was like, can I do this? Can I actually do a game jam and get something out there for people to see, to share? So that's one of the things I've learned, that yeah, I could do it. I want to know if I could implement things like collision detection, enemies, like that was, I knew the concept of how to do it, I just never actually did it. And so that was a challenge for me. I wanted to get that done, get it out of the way. And I want to know if I could get that done. I wanted to finish, to have a start and end to the game. And I did do that. Of course, it's not like the most complete game. There's a lot of things I could have added to make it more fulfilling, but I got it done. So that's all, really. So one thing I also learned is I love JavaScript. I really enjoy making all kinds of things with it. I also wanted to kind of share why I've decided on just using vanilla JavaScript. Number one, I'm just very comfortable with it. I think I'm gonna use more projects on this in the future. Also, making your own engine or kind of doing everything from scratch makes the projects really light. I don't like the idea that games take a lot of memory or loading screens and such, so if I'm able to do that, I'm happy. Also, the prospect of learning a new game engine is kind of daunting for me right now. I'm starting to kind of lean towards using a game engine though. I'm leaning towards Unity or Godot. I'm probably going to go for Godot, but for now I'm going to stick with JavaScript. But I can see the benefits. I see that a lot of people can get really good benefits for graphics wise. I also like the idea that I'm creating the things from scratch. It's kind of a hard decision right now. I think one of the most important aspects that I got out of the game jam was that I grew out of my comfort zone. There's a lot of first things that I've done. One was collision detection. I know it's very basic, but I implemented it from scratch. I had enemies, having a boss along with that, and creating a top-down shooter, something I've kind of always wanted to do. I made my own music. That's the first time I ever did that. And I've also made my own animated sprites. That's a lot for me. At first, I was like, I'm not an artist. I'm never gonna make my own music or animated sprites. I looked all over the internet to find the right art for the game. That took a very long time. I found some art, but it was just not exactly what I wanted, and the same for the music. I wanted to match space/cube theme that I had, and I couldn't find anything, and I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna make my art. It's gonna not take too long. And I discovered like new tools. I've discovered Pascal, which is amazing. It does exactly what I wanted to do. I started off with paint.net, which I heard that the Stardew Valley creator used, and that wasn't exactly what I wanted. Pascal just really solved that problem for me. Made my own music, like I mentioned. I used beatbox. I again just wanted to fit this right theme. It just felt weird to throw this other music in there, and it just became what I wanted, and so that just helped a lot. I could start to imagine myself my next projects, and so that was just great for me, and I think that was the biggest benefit out of doing this game jam for me. Fifth thing I've learned is that game dev is a journey. Game development, like I mentioned earlier, is that you're kind of building upon what you learned previously. You're growing. Each time you make a game from start to finish, it's about the growth there. In contrast to being about making a great game, it's about personal growth. The start is boring, but that's where everyone else begins. I was actually a little embarrassed about deploying my game, to be honest. Ultimately, I need to get it out there so people can see it, people can give feedback, you can see where you can improve on it. And with this experience, I can move on to create bigger and better things. Thanks for getting this far in the video. I hope I inspired you to try out game development or take part in a game jam as well. My game is in fact open source, so you can check it out in the link below in my code. Thanks for watching.